People say houses are just wood, nails, and paint. But that's a lie. Some houses listen. Some houses remember. And some never forget what you did inside them. If you're hearing this story late at night, I suggest you turn on a light. Because what I'm about to tell you is not a legend. Not a campfire tale. And definitely not fiction. This is the story of a house that learned how to scream. And the people who vanished after hearing it. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I was there. And once you know what I know, you'll never look at an empty house the same way again. It started with a phone call at 2:17 a.m. That time matters. You'll understand why later. The phone rang once. Twice. I almost ignored it. No one calls you at that hour unless something is wrong, or already too late. When I answered, there was only breathing. Slow. Wet. Like someone was standing too close to the phone. "Hello?" I said. Silence. Then a whisper. "It's awake again." The call disconnected. I stared at my phone, heart pounding, every nerve screaming danger. The number was blocked. I should have gone back to sleep. I should have pretended it never happened. But 3 minutes later, an email arrived. No subject line. No sender name. Just an address. Ravenwood Lane, Hollow Creek, Ohio. And one sentence beneath it. "You promised you'd come back if it ever started remembering." Hollow Creek is the kind of town people forget exists. One gas station. One diner. Too many churches. The kind of place where everyone knows your face, but not your secrets. I hadn't been there in 12 years. Not since the summer that ruined my sleep forever. Back then, Ravenwood Lane had only one house at the end of the road. A Victorian monster. Tall. Crooked. Paint peeling like dead skin. The locals called it the Whistler House. Because at night, when the wind blew just right, it sounded like someone was whistling. From inside the walls. I was 17 when I first stepped inside that house. We were stupid. Fearless in the way only teenagers can be. There were 4 of us. Me. Evan. Lila. Mark. Evan dared us to spend the night. Mark laughed. Lila hesitated. I said yes. That was the moment everything went wrong. Because the house didn't want visitors. It wanted witnesses. 12 years later, I was driving down Ravenwood Lane again. The trees leaned inward, branches tangled like skeletal fingers. The house was still there. Waiting. But something was different. The upstairs window. The one that used to be broken. Was glowing. Warm yellow light. Like someone was home. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. The front door slowly creaked wider as I stepped onto the porch. The air inside smelled wrong. Not mold. Not dust. Memory. That's the only word that fits. The floorboards groaned under my feet, not from age, but like they were complaining. Then I heard it. A sound I hadn't heard in 12 years. A child's voice. Whispering my name. The walls began to hum. Low. Vibrating. Like the house itself was clearing its throat. And suddenly, I remembered the promise. The one I made on the final night. The promise I broke. We didn't all make it out that summer. Only 2 of us did. The police said it was an accident. A collapse. Faulty beams. But houses don't lock doors. They don't call your name. And they don't repeat your worst fear back to you in your own voice. Unless they're alive. The light upstairs flickered. A door slammed somewhere deep inside. And the whisper returned, louder now. "Come see what you forgot." I took one step forward. And the house smiled. You ever notice how silence can be louder than screaming? That house had that kind of silence. The moment I stepped inside, the front door closed behind me, not slammed, not rushed, just decidedly shut. I didn't turn around. Because I already knew. It was locked. The hallway was longer than I remembered. That's the first thing that told me the house had changed. Back when I was 17, you could see the staircase from the front door. Now, the hallway stretched like a tunnel, walls narrowing slightly the farther it went. Old wallpaper peeled off in strips, revealing something beneath it. Not wood. Names. Carved. Scratched. Hundreds of them. Some shallow. Some deep enough to bleed. I ran my fingers across one. It was warm. Then I saw it. My name. Fresh. Like it had just been written. "Stop," I whispered. The word echoed back to me, but not in my voice. In Lila's. My chest tightened. I hadn't heard her voice since the funeral. Since they found what was left of her in the basement. Correction. What the house allowed them to find. We didn't believe the rumors. That was our mistake. The Whistler house sat empty for decades, yet never decayed the way abandoned houses should. No graffiti. No squatters. No animals. Just, untouched. As if everything avoided it on purpose. Evan said the house was curious. Mark laughed at that. What, like it's bored, he joked. Evan didn't smile. Like it wants to know who we are. Old Mrs. Calder, the woman who ran the diner, tried to warn us. She gripped Lila's wrist hard when she heard where we were going. "If you hear it say your name," she said, voice shaking. "Don't answer. Don't look. And don't ever tell it the truth." We laughed after we left. Every single one of us. The humming grew louder. I followed the hallway until it opened into the living room. The furniture was arranged exactly as it had been that night. The same couch. The same broken lamp. Even the same deck of cards on the table. But they weren't dusty. They were clean. Preserved. Like a shrine. That first night, we heard it around midnight. A scream. Not from outside. From above us. Sharp. Short. Cut off suddenly. Mark jumped up. "That's fake," he said too quickly. "Someone messing with us." But the stairs. The stairs shifted. I swear they did. They creaked, stretched, as if adjusting their spine. Evan whispered. "It wants us upstairs." In the present, I stood at the bottom of those same stairs. The upstairs light flickered again. I placed my foot on the first step. The wood was warm. Like skin. Then the whisper came back, clearer now. "Closer." Evan answered. My stomach dropped. Because that was true. That night, Evan heard his name. We all did. It came from the bedroom at the end of the hall. Soft. Almost playful. "Evan." He froze. Lila grabbed his arm. "Don't," she whispered. But he smiled. "Relax," he said. "It's just messing with us." And then he answered. "Yeah." The door opened by itself. And something inside laughed. I climbed the stairs slowly. Each step whispered something different. Regrets. Secrets. Thoughts I'd never said out loud. The house knew them all. At the top of the stairs, the bedroom door stood open. Light poured out. And on the wall inside, written in dark red letters, "Tell me another truth." We learned the rule too late. The house fed on truth. Your real fears. Your guilt. Your shame. Lies made it angry. Truth made it hungry. And once it learned your name, it never stopped calling. Mark was next. He didn't scream. He just walked. Straight into the wall. And the wall opened for him. Closed again like nothing happened. No blood. No sound. Just gone. Standing there now, 12 years later, I felt the same pull. The same pressure behind my eyes. The house whispered. Only two left. I knew what it meant. I knew who it wanted next. And I knew. This time. It wasn't going to let me leave. The bedroom light went out. The door slammed shut. And from behind it, I heard breathing. Slow. Wet. Right against the wood. There are places you don't remember with your mind. You remember them with your body. The basement of that house was one of them. Even before I opened the door, my knees started shaking. It was hidden behind the staircase. Always had been. Back then, we didn't notice it at first. The house didn't want us to. Now, 12 years later, it wanted me to see it. The door creaked open by itself. A cold breath rushed up from below. Not air. Breathing. We were screaming Mark's name. Over and over. But the house didn't echo it back. That's when we knew. It was done with him. Lila was crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent tears rolling down her face. Evan was gone. Mark was gone. Only 3 of us left. And the house was getting louder. Lila heard it next. Her name came softly, lovingly. Like a mother calling a child home. Lila. She stiffened. No, she whispered. I didn't say anything. But the house wasn't asking. It was reminding. We found out later, too late, what the house wanted from her. Lila had been hiding something. Something heavy. That summer, before we ever stepped inside the Whistler house, a boy from school went missing. Everyone thought he ran away. But Lila knew better. Because she'd seen him enter the woods behind the house. And she never told anyone. The house knew. The basement steps were steeper than I remembered. Each one creaked like it was complaining under my weight. The smell hit me halfway down. Iron. Damp earth. And something rotten, but not dead. Waiting. The light flickered on. And suddenly, I wasn't alone. The walls were covered. Not with mold. With moments. Scenes burned into the wood. I saw Evan standing in the doorway, smiling before the door swallowed him. Mark walking into the wall. And Lila. Kneeling. Crying. Begging. The house didn't take Lila quickly. It took her slowly. It asked questions. Each answer made the room colder. Each truth made the walls move closer. "Why didn't you tell them?" the house asked. "I was scared," she sobbed. "Of what?" "That they'd hate me." The house laughed. A sound like wood cracking in a fire. This is the part no one believes. The house offered her a choice. Give it the truth. Or become part of it. Lila chose truth. All of it. Every secret. Every guilt. Every fear. And the house listened. When it was done, there was nothing left of her to leave. They said they found her body in the basement. They lied. They found something shaped like a body. The house doesn't kill. It keeps. At the bottom of the basement stairs, I saw her. Lila. Or what the house made of her. Her eyes were hollow. Her mouth stitched shut with shadows. She didn't move. But she smiled. Her voice came from everywhere. From the walls. From the ceiling. From inside my head. "You promised," she continued. "You said you'd protect us." I tried to speak. The house tightened around me. The walls leaned in. The floor pulsed. That's when I remembered the last rule. The one Mrs. Calder whispered to me the night I left town. "If the house ever calls you back," she said, "it's because it's missing something." I knew what that something was. Me. The basement door slammed shut. The light went out. And the whisper became a command. Finish the story. Because the house doesn't let stories end unfinished. There were only two of us left. Me. And the house. At least, that's what it wanted me to believe. In the darkness, time stopped behaving normally. Seconds stretched into something thick and sticky. My thoughts echoed before I even finished thinking them. The house liked that. Fear tastes better when it's slow. "You came back," the walls whispered. "Because you still owe me." I swallowed hard. "What do you want?" I asked. The house laughed, not loudly, but deeply. "The truth you never told. 12 years ago, on the final night, there was a moment no one ever talks about. After Lila was taken. After the screaming stopped. I was alone in the living room. The house asked me a question. One simple question. Why did you bring them here? And I lied. I said it was curiosity. I said it was a dare. I said I didn't know what would happen. But that wasn't true. I brought them because I already knew the house was dangerous. Because rumors had reached me first. Because part of me wanted proof. And a darker part of me wanted to see if the stories were real. I didn't think anyone would die. But I also didn't stop it. That was the truth I buried. And lies. Lies confused the house. The walls moved closer. The floor rose slightly, like a lung filling with air. Tell me, the house demanded. Why you really came back. I felt Lila's presence fade slightly, as if she was listening too. And that's when I realized something. The house doesn't just eat truth. It needs an ending. I wasn't the only one, I said. The house paused. For the first time. It hesitated. There were 2 survivors, I continued. You let one go, and you forgot. Silence. Then. A door opened upstairs. Footsteps. Slow. Uneven. That was the final truth. Evan didn't die that night. He made a deal. He gave the house what it wanted most. A storyteller. Someone to bring others. Someone to remember. He stayed. And the house let me leave. Because it already had him. The walls shuddered. The humming broke into sharp, angry vibrations. You replaced him, the house whispered. No, I said softly. He replaced you. The basement door creaked open. Light spilled down. Real light. Morning light. The house screamed, not in rage, but in loss. Because stories end when someone walks away. Because Evan is gone. The light was on upstairs when I arrived. Which means, the house is missing its storyteller again. And houses like that, they don't stay silent for long. If you ever hear a house say your name, don't answer. If it asks for the truth, lie. And if this story felt a little too real, then it might already be listening. I didn't leave Hollow Creek immediately. That was my second mistake. The first was coming back. Morning should have made everything feel smaller. Less dangerous. But the sun over Hollow Creek felt weak, like it was afraid of something. The Whistler house stood silent behind me. No light in the windows. No sound. No movement. It looked empty. And that terrified me more than anything else. Because when the house was quiet, it was listening. I went straight to the diner. Mrs. Calder was still there. Still old. Still watching the door like she expected it to open on its own. She looked up when I walked in. And her face collapsed. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I know, I said. Evan's gone. She closed her eyes. So it's hungry again. Mrs. Calder finally told me everything. The Whistler house wasn't born evil. It was built. Over something wrong. A place where people confess things they were never forgiven for. Over time, the house learned. Truth shaped it. Fear fed it. Stories gave it memory. And storytellers gave it reach. A house can't move, Mrs. Calder said. But stories can. She looked directly at me. And now you're telling it. That's when I understood. The house didn't need walls anymore. It needed listeners. That night, my phone rang again. 2:17 a.m. Blocked number. I didn't answer. But I didn't need to. A voicemail appeared. No sound. Just breathing. And then, my name. In my own voice. I could stop telling this story. Pretend it never happened. Let the house starve. Or, I could finish it. Give it one last ending. So I'm doing the only thing I can. I'm ending it here. If this story found you, if you listened all the way to the end, then remember this. Some houses don't haunt places. They haunt people. And now, it knows you listened. If you ever hear whistling in your walls, don't investigate. If your house whispers your name, move. And if you think this is just a story, ask yourself something first. Why did your room suddenly feel quieter?
Before I end this, I just want to say thank you for listening. These stories take time to remember, and even more courage to share. If this one stayed with you, even after the last word, you can support the channel by liking the video. And if you enjoy slow, honest stories like this, told the way they're experienced, consider subscribing. I read every comment. So feel free to share your thoughts below. I'll see you in the next story.